So, GameStop isn't the greatest company when it comes to their Circle of Life program. Most of their money is made through the sale of pre-owned games, and honestly, it doesn't do anything but really hurt the industry. So, developers and publishers started to kind of push digital titles, and with that, you get a lot of benefits like sales and stuff like that. But then you also don't get the physical media, which a lot of people like to hold in their hand and stuff. So, it's kind of like a catch-22. So, in order to combat this sort of digital revolution, GameStop is introducing a new program that's called the Power Pass. So basically, if you pay them $60, you for 6 months you can go in and rent any pre-owned game that's on the shelf. So as long as it's in the store and it's pre-owned, you could bring it home. Yeah, it's pretty sweet to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. And at the end of that 6 months, you actually get to take one of the games home. But I can assure you that this is anything but good. For years, companies have been trying to subsidize the loss of sales due to pre-owned sales pretty much. It started out with things like day one DLC, which honestly most of it was tripe. So it really wasn't too big of a reason to get the game day one, but it still got people in there buying the games. And then GameStop starts offering an extra $30 if you trade in your game during the release week. Basically, so you can trade in the game, during its initial release week, and you'd get like 45 bucks for it, which you can kind of turn into another game the next week if you wanted to play the next new title that came out. Then we saw the advent of season passes, which probably help fund games and also give them the quality of life. Because really, if a game is good, why do you need to kill it off? Borderlands is a really good example. Their DLC expanded the game so much, and the season passes were worth buying. But then later down the road, we started to get DLC that was locked on the disc. Games like Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And then, before you knew it, companies like EA were cutting out content from games like Star Wars Battlefront, where the game only launched with 4 maps, for fuck's sakes. It's retarded. So still, they probably weren't able to recoup their losses enough through the whole pre-owned sales thing and, people not buying season passes or really keeping their games and playing them. They'd rather trade them in. Like I said, you get the extra bonus from GameStop and blah, blah, blah. So then before we knew it, companies like EA and Ubisoft started to implement online passes. So basically, if you didn't buy the game new, you'd have to pay $10 to play that game online. And before you knew it, every company was doing this. It was ridiculous. It got really out of hand. And I'm kind of glad that that died off with the last generation of gaming. But I feel that it also helped kill off like rental stores, like small and big, even the bigger chain rental stores started to die off. And I would imagine that kind of helped attribute to that. Movies were also dying out at the same time. Physical media is just dying altogether. Jesus Christ. And GameStop is doing anything to try to keep their grip on that. And then finally, we have loot crates or loot boxes, whatever the hell you want to call them. These things are invading every single game. And they don't need to be in a lot of these games. They're just cosmetics and silly little things. But again, it's just companies trying to recoup their loss. And really, at this point, I feel they're also getting greedy with it. But you have to see it from the side where they're putting a lot of money into developing these games. And they're not really seeing a good return on them. So we're not seeing new titles because it's not like games are getting cheaper to make, because they're not. Let's be real. As the technology gets better, you have to hire more people, and just it's not easy. So I leave you with this. Do you honestly think that renting from GameStop is going to do anything but hurt an already beaten and battered industry? Or is this something that's only acceptable in a place like the Twilight Zone?